So we'll just kind of start with the application process, then talk about what you guys went through when you interviewed and some tips on that, and then we'll last just touch on undergraduate experiences that you think helped you to get accepted or get to where you're at right now. So when you're thinking about schools, did you have a number in mind that you wanted to apply to, or is there a magic number that people suggest?
Go ahead.
I don't think there's a magic number. I think it depends on obviously how strong you think your application is. You're going to have a better chance if you apply to more schools. It's just the balance between how much money you want to spend to apply, because it's not cheap. Plus, you're going to have to go there if you get an interview. Like, you know, Drew applied to Washington, and you got to fly out there for the interview.
Sure.
So it's just, you know, and it depends on where you want to go to. I mean, you may only have a couple schools that you actually really want to go to. So
sure.
How much money do you want to waste? So that's what I feel like.
I don't know. For me personally, I don't come from a family with a lot of money, so for me it was very tightly regulated, and you know, the lowest number I think you can apply to actually submit your application is $4.
What does that cost then?
It's actually on the sheet that I gave you, but it's like $440
or something like that is the base fee.
Well,
and then every school after that is 110
extra,
or 150 extra.
$100.
So it adds up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing most people don't understand though, is that yeah, sure, it's only that cost for them to run your
right.
But then each school, supplemental apps, schools charge you money, money to go there, to come back, to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it adds up real quick.
Yeah.
So how many interviews did you guys do each?
I only ended up doing 2.
Okay.
I had 3.
Where'd you guys go?
I had University of Minnesota, University of Nebraska at Lincoln, and then Marquette.
Okay.
Yeah, and I only did Lincoln and Minnesota.
How did you pick those schools?
For me, I guess it was kind of around this area. I didn't want to go too far, so those are I also applied to Creighton, so those are the 4 that are kind of within this area.
Sure.
And I had a buddy that goes to Creighton right now in dental school, and he said it was a pretty good school. So
the same was true for me.
Geographically. We're just talking about interviews and how you pick the schools that you apply to and why, and how do you find out the information you need to know about schools besides looking at their webpage. So you want to share any thoughts you have on those things?
I mostly got all my information from what was on the website and then what they said about when they went on their dental school trip the year before. So
okay.
That's mostly it.
How many schools did you apply to?
8.
And how many interviews did you go to?
I had 8 interviews, but I only went on 3 of them.
Okay.
Just more cost effective.
Yep. How about you?
I went and toured 4 of the colleges that I had applied to earlier the summer before, so I knew if I liked them or not. And then I applied to 5 schools. I got got 5 interviews, but I only went on 4.
Okay.
And then I got into those 4.
Okay. How about you?
I talked to a lot of friends. I had friends out at schools on the West Coast, and then I looked online a lot too, and did a research project my sophomore year in one of my classes on like what schools I want to go to, and I applied to 8, interviewed at 5, and got into 4.
How did you research schools besides looking at their webpage? Could you find out the key things you needed to know or the nitty-gritty?
As far as like for interview purposes, so you have knowledge of the school, or just for personal, why would I want to go there?
Probably both. Probably more for why would you want to go there, what's unique about the school, why would I want to apply here, or would I even want to go here? Can you find that type of stuff out?
For me personally, it was a lot of it had to do with the dentist that I shadowed.
Okay.
Because I shadowed some that were amazing, and then you shadowed others that kind of cringed, which actually surprised me. Some experiences were great, others weren't. And I kind of looked more at the ones that were great.
Cringed as far as the quality of work or patient skills or both?
Well, I'm not so, well, quality of work, but more people skills.
Okay.
Like one dentist that did really good stressed that, you know what, when I was in school, they stressed you treat your patients with respect. You go with the other one, all he wanted to talk to me about was my golf game. Didn't want to talk to me about anything else while I was shadowing him, so it was kind of a turn-off.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it had a lot to do with the dentist I shadowed, and also I had A couple of friends.
Come on, guys.
That went to school, and I could ask them questions about
Right.
the schools and how they felt their experience was there too. So.
Okay. When can you turn in your, what's the earliest you can turn in your computerized forms?
June 1st,
Yeah,
Okay.
it goes up June 1st.
June
Yeah.
3rd.
Is that what most people strive for, or do you just try and get it out when you can?
I'd get it in as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Is that how they assign interviews? It's just based on when they
Some
come?
schools are.
Yeah,
Some
they
schools-
say it's not time based, but most of them it is. Yeah,
It
most of
probably
them.
is.
I would say that's probably one of the most important factors, to be honest, though, because I waited a little bit until I got my letters of recommendation,
Okay.
which was a mistake, because you don't have to have your letters to submit your application. And I think if I would have submitted it even earlier, I'd have had a better chance at other schools too.
Okay. So how long after you submit your application do you think it takes before you start getting letters or notification that you got an interview?
I got a lot of my notifications for interviews in September and October, and I put mine in August.
So a couple months.
Yeah.
That's pretty average for
Yeah.
most people. Did you call any schools and ask, am I getting an interview? And were they receptive to the contact, or they felt like you were bugging them?
Yeah, I had to call. I hadn't heard back from Minnesota, and I called down there and asked them what my application status was, and they said that I needed one of my letters of recommendation wasn't from the right person, or
Okay.
they needed an actual employee. So I had to switch it around, and then as soon as they sent it, then the next day they gave me an interview. So.
Do you think that they would have communicated that with you if you had not called and followed up on it?
I don't know. That was in November, so
Okay. So,
probably not.
so follow-up sometimes will help you
Yeah.
secure the
Stay on
interview.
track. Stay on top.
They told me at Washington that calling as much as I did helped out a lot. So even though I felt really bad about leaving out voicemails, they said that it was good. So
Do you think it's better to call than to email or use similar type of contact method?
Definitely.
I think calling is more effective.
Okay.
I know that I called down to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln looking for an interview, just asked them if they had gotten it. They go, oh yeah, but our printer's been broke. We've been meaning to send this out for about a week now. So it kind of gives you a peace of mind as well.
Sure. It's interesting, the little details behind the scenes. If you got an interview somewhere and you canceled it, how did you cancel it? Did you phone, email?
Email.
Email. Was it fine? Seemed fine for any that
I
canceled?
called my person.
Okay.
Went to college.
Did they say anything, or did they beg you to come, or anything?
She just asked me if I was sure if I wanted to cancel my interview. And,
Okay. What's the most number of schools you've heard anybody apply to?
I heard 20.
yeah.
20?
Yeah.
15. Yeah.
Okay. How about people you met when you were out interviewing? Did you get any sense of how many people applied to other schools, or how many schools?
They
Usually
apply to
between-
more, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
From what I heard.
Oh, I thought 5 to 10 was usually what I heard. On the most part, for the most part.
Out in California, it was really high. I think for med school too, dental and med, they all apply to 20, 30 schools.
Do you think that's because of competition or sheer number of people trying to get in, or just
I don't know.
Probably more schools around that area, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
More schools.
More state schools.
okay.
More in-state schools.
So as far as references go, I'm sure schools have their preference for clinical, non-clinical, all this stuff. Was there any particular reference that you felt was the best reference to get from a certain type of person or certain experience you had that maybe looks better than another type of reference? Science faculty versus English teacher versus job versus research.
I had my organic chemistry teacher write me one, and she was really, really smart. She was just basically, she told us the first day at OCHEN that she doesn't write recommendations for very many people. And I think that an OCHEN rep is pretty good.
Okay.
I had the same.
Chemistry.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I ended up getting one from a Spanish professor, actually.
Okay.
It's like a second language, and it's something that I've been doing for probably the last 10 years.
Okay.
So I think it probably stood out a little bit. They commented on it in interviews and things
Sure.
and asked me questions about it.
Okay.
It's something to set you aside if you can get letters from a group like that. I think it's probably better.
And I had the dentist that I've been seeing since I started going to the dentist, and I worked for him a few times too and did a lot of shadowing, so he had a lot of one-on-one contact with me that wasn't just dentistry related too, so.
Okay. Did you guys all do shadowing or some type of job type thing? How about research? Everybody research, no research?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 50-50? Clinical science type stuff or psychology or something else? All science?
Environmental research.
Okay, so science-based.
Mhm.
Is that sort of the average or the standard that people would choose? Okay. How about personal statements? Any do's or don'ts or suggestions for somebody who is just sitting down and trying to hash one of these out? Anything that you've heard or guidelines that someone's given you that you found helpful?
For the application.
Yeah, as far as the application.
Like, is there a personal statement on your
Personal
application?
statement.
Yeah, your personal statement.
Oh.
How did you write? How did you come up with writing what you wrote, and who helped you figure that out, or did you just?
Many drafts and stuff early.
Yeah.
I don't know, what I read online, or what I heard from a lot of people, was to stray away from the typical, like, when I grew up I wanted to be this or whatever, but I'm sure that works too, but a lot of people were saying start it with like a story where you can capture the person right off the bat, and even if it's not even related to dentistry, like I saw examples online related to whitewater rafting and stuff like that. The whole essay was on that, and then at the end it'd say this is why I'd be a good dentist or something like that, and like that's kind of, mine was more like that. Mine was about my trip to Costa Rica and
Okay.
Nicaragua, but at the same time I didn't talk about dentistry the whole time. So, I don't know.
Did anybody have anybody help you write theirs? English faculty, family, friend, or how did you polish it up before you?
Yeah.
Look
Yeah.
over it?
Proofreading.
Just friends or family and whatnot.
Both of my sisters are in med school, so they help me write
Okay.
it too.
That's a good resource to have. So the DAT, how did you prepare for it?
Lots of books.
Yeah, there's a Kaplan book, study book, and then just studied that.
And the DAT Destroyer really helps me a lot with organic chemistry.
DAT Destroyer?
Mm-hmm.
That's a book.
I
Yep.
can give you a list of the books
Okay.
if you want those, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
How about online? Is there anything online that you guys did? Any
I would
video
say the
stuff?
studying the perceptual ability online really helped.
Yeah, using computerized images for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that called?
And a lot of those
Crack
were
that
related
Pad.
to
Did
the-
you
Track
use
the
that?
dabs or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
That was by far the best one for perceptual ability.
Okay. So that you gave me this printout as far as standard scores. I mean, what would be a score for somebody to shoot for?
20s.
20s.
Mhm.
I mean, if you have the math section, they always told me it wasn't a big deal if you get below 20, but perceptual ability, if you can get that high, like 22, 23, like a lot of people I talked to were 20, 26, 27 at some schools, and that makes you look really good. So
It also depends on what school you apply to too,
Yeah.
because I know
Each school's a
Minnesota.
little different.
Yeah, Minnesota really liked the perceptual ability, but other ones that I applied to put more emphasis on the biology and stuff like that.
Can you find that stuff out ahead of time when you're applying? Where do you look, or where do you find it?
You can go to their website.
Website. You can even call
You
and
could
ask.
ask.
They'll tell you how to publish that stuff.
there's that big book that they're talking about for med school too. You can buy for dental that has all the schools in it too.
Okay.
And then usually they put like the average scores of their like incoming students
Yeah.
online too, so you can see like what they kind of search for.
They put GPAs on there and all
The
that?
average GPA.
The average GPAs
Yeah,
of the
for
class.
scores.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Kim-
the last 2 or 3, one or 2.
They
Kim,
should,
yeah,
like,
Kim
classes.
has all that stuff.
So if you were going to tell somebody who was maybe a sophomore who's thinking about applying to dental school what GPA they should shoot for, what would you tell them?
4.0.
As high as they can get, yeah.
Well, is there a number that I'm a 3.1? Am I not going to get
It's
in?
gonna be
That's
tough.
gonna-
I
yeah.
would
It's gonna
say
make it
what,
real
like
If you have below a
7?
3.5, it'd be
Yeah,
like it's really-
keep it above a 3.5.
By
Mhm.
having a high GPA, you're gonna do better on your DAT anyway. So like if you got those grades in those classes, you should do better on that. So
Yeah.
in turn, it's gonna be good in the
Yeah.
long run.
If you have a really low GPA, you're just gonna have to blow them out of the water in the rest of your application. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna have to be ridiculous.
With your experiences and
Yeah,
stuff.
and even your DAT is gonna have to be like, maybe they'll just say, oh, this kid maybe just didn't apply himself at first, and now he's really buckling down. That could help, but
Mhm.
I mean, there's factors that you can change, but.
You mentioned the cost. I was surprised by how much the application process costs for dental school. Is there any resources out there for people that maybe need help to finance this endeavor?
There was a financial disadvantage thing, right? where you
Yeah.
could get
Is there
you could get exempted
a
from part of
waiver?
There's a
your-
waiver you
Oh,
could
yeah.
fill out, but I don't know anyone that did.
Is it
Well-
just for the application, or is it to help you with all?
I think it's for
Just
ads.
AdSats, which is the expensive part.
Okay.
Because the AdSats is a lot more expensive than AMCAS for applying to schools.
Mhm.
Like, I think I applied to 8 schools and it was $720, and for some of my friends that applied to 13 med schools, it was like $600 for 13 compared to 8. So it's quite a bit more expensive, I think.
Are all schools on the has?
Just about.
Not the
Yeah.
Texas schools.
Yeah.
The schools in Texas are on their own.
Okay.
If you don't mind, I kind of wanted to just make one mention of the
Yeah.
GPA thing that you talked about. I personally do not have a 4.0, but I think a big mistake that a lot of people going into it is to think that they have to have it.
Yeah, I
And that they
absolutely-
spend so much time going after that 4.0 that they don't gain the life experiences. They just put their head in the book and they never do anything else. And I don't know, maybe you guys would agree, but I think most interview places were more focused on your life experiences than they were actually focused on whether or not you got a 4.0.
Yeah,
So-
I certainly don't. And the thing we talked about most in one of the interview that the school I decided to go to was about how I worked a part-time job for 6 years at the same place. So, you know, no, it's just where you have a bad day and you're like, I don't want to work here anymore. You know, you can't do that in
Sure.
industry. It's not going to work out very well. So.
So if you only knew then what you know now, what would you do different as far as applying to schools? Is there anything you change or do differently?
Get the application in earlier.
I get that thing in like June 20th at the latest. Like, I mean, like that. I think all schools, even if they don't say it, they're based on rolling admissions. Like, except for some state schools that I know Washington told me they do state first and then Witchy and then out of state. But still, like, even a difference of like a couple of weeks. I know like Amy you got some of your interviews quite a bit
In
before
August.
like us because we applied, like you and I applied. I think ours went out the same round, like August. So
Yeah, I had an interview by then.
yeah, see, I think if you have your stuff in June, you're gonna be getting interviews earlier, which doesn't mean you're gonna get in, but I don't know. I think it makes it less stressful.
Yeah.
Okay.